Well, today we have two very special guests to help lead this conversation. And first I'm going to call up Eva Moskowitz and Representative Jennifer Canady. Well, thank you both for joining us today, and just a couple of short introductions. To my left here, Representative Jennifer Canady will be Speaker of the Florida House in 2 years, and she will be the first female Speaker of the Florida House. Yes. Yes. And she has a background in education. And then all the way at the end, Eva Moskowitz, the founder and creator and president and everything there is to know about Success Academy. And if you're not familiar with Success Academy, that's what we'll be talking about today. So you both care deeply about the future of education, about the power of school choice, and especially about the critical importance of excellence. Excellence in everything we do, especially excellence in education. Few, if any, Florida legislators have ever had your depth of hands-on experience in education. How has your background in education impacted how you think about governing, and why have you put excellence at the center of your work? And if you could just tell us a little bit about your background in education.
Sure. Well, thanks for that, Demi, and what a great opportunity to be with you today. Thanks to all of you for sharing this time with us and for this really important conversation. So I'm a classroom teacher by training. I've spent a couple of decades in the classroom, and we all come to this work of legislating from different perspectives. Everybody has a lens. Mine just happens to be education. And when you spend a couple of decades with middle school and high school kids primarily, you develop a pretty sensitive BS meter. So if I bring anything to this education conversation, it is really understanding that sometimes when you hear things, it's not all it's cracked up to be. And so when I heard about Success Academy, I went to New York, and I went to Harlem. And when I walked the halls in Harlem, my 20 years of experience in education made me absolutely convinced that what we were seeing was real, what we were seeing was powerful, and that I would do everything in my power to make sure that children in the state of Florida had access to this level of excellence. And so that was my background and my story with my introduction to success.
Thank you for that. And I did a similar tour in the Bronx, actually, and once you see it, you completely understand what it is and what they're doing, and you're amazed that something like this exists. And then you're like, why aren't we doing this in our own backyard? And there comes Eva. So Eva, you have done it. You've achieved excellence at a scale that is demonstrated that it is possible to do what you have done. And you've done so in, quite frankly, a hostile environment where failure is very prevalent, and that's the sad reality about the area you started success in. Can you tell us about the quality crisis you are seeing and how Success Academy has reversed the achievement gap? And maybe you could tell us a little bit too about what success is, what the model is, and the mission.
Sure. I mean, I started Success 20 years ago with 165 kindergartners and first graders. Now we're educating 22,000 kids in New York City. We're the 4th largest school district in the state of New York. And we're #1 in the state in mathematics and #2 in reading. We just got our AP advanced placement scores back, and we are beating globally countries around the world. And our kids are 94% Black and brown. We have 15% special needs children. We have English language learners. And as you said, we're doing it in a pretty hostile state. We're a deep blue state. We are not a state that embraces school choice. We don't have legislators like the two of you and your colleagues. And so The model is really, first of all, the science of reading. We believe deeply in phonics. You have to teach phonics if you're going to teach kids to read. But we also believe in good literature, and we believe in history and mathematics and science. Chess is a subject in our school. I think both of you may have seen the chess.
Yes.
We also believe...
Starting at kindergarten, right?
In kindergarten.
Very impressive.
Every child takes chess, just like math and science. We also believe in dance and the arts. We start with ballet. I think you may have seen it. We start with ballet, and when kids are dancing and there's that emphasis on excellence, it translates into the academics. We try at Success, whatever we're doing, we want to do it exquisitely.
And you do it exquisitely. It's very impressive. And if everyone could give their attention up here, I think this is an important part of why. Can you guys hear us? Eva, you're gonna have to teach me some tricks that you use in the classroom.
Yeah, we raise our hand, everyone raise their hand, and we get silence.
There we go. And that's why it's successful. But I want to touch on something that really stood out to me about the success model, and that's the family involvement. So I think this is a huge part of why Success Academy does so well. And can you just kind of touch on that, what the family involvement is?
Sure. I mean, schools have a tendency to try and work around parents. And I don't believe in that. As the mother of 3 myself, I don't want my school working around me or my husband. But I think it's also critical. We won't succeed if we don't involve parents in the conversation. It doesn't mean that parents run the school, because it's actually kind of a there are a lot of sophisticated curriculum choices. You'd have to look at all the math problems to know which are the best ones. But we engage parents. We have an open door policy. Any parent, unannounced, can come to any classroom for 30 minutes. Every parent gets the cell phone number of the teacher, the assistant principal, the principal. Our parents are our customers. It's our job to engage them. In fact, I would argue inspire them to make some of the sacrifices that are necessary to have your kids be well educated. We talk about our goal as scholar preparedness, and lest anyone leave the room thinking that we just care about academics or arts and athletics, it's actually much broader than that. We care about developing future leaders. What are the habits of highly successful people? You need self-confidence and you need self-direction. And so that is holistically what we are going for.
Thank you. And let's talk about you coming to Florida. Not now just for this trip, but bringing Success Academy to Florida. Tell us about what led you to that decision, the driving force behind it.
Well, I have watched Florida from afar. And I think the first thing that's just very exciting is you guys have put school choice in the center of educational reform. And Texas has done it more recently, but frankly, they're copying Florida. And you guys have been at it for 20 years. I'm sorry, you've been at it for 20 years. You also have a sensitivity to our poorest students, and I had followed the Schools of Hope legislation. That seemed exciting. But honestly, I think it's you guys. You guys think outside the box. And I know we have a group of esteemed legislators, but I would just say same old is not going to get us where we need to go. And I consider education not only for the obvious reasons about children, but it's a matter of prosperity, the prosperity of the country. It's a matter of national security. If we do not catch up to the rest of the world educationally, I'm sorry, our country is going to have challenges. And I'm a patriot. We're in America. We can crack the code on education. It's not that hard. And so I was really inspired by Jennifer's depth of knowledge, your willingness to carry, difficult bills that are new and not same old, same old. I really felt at home with transformative thinkers who are willing to deliver for children in a national standard-setting way. And so I can't think of better partners than you all in Florida.
Thank you. And let's talk about that legislation, Representative Canady. So it was nothing but nothing short of many challenges to get that legislation across the finish line. We worked months on it, negotiating language, keeping the bill moving, getting over many hurdles. Can you take us into the trenches of what it took to finally get it across the finish line and why it was worth the fight?
Well, let me tell you.
And here's your 101, everyone.
If you think it is going to be easy to make transformational changes in education, a lot of us have carried difficult and controversial bills. That is something that we do, we're proud to do. You wouldn't be at ALEC if you weren't looking for ways to make impact and make change. But some of the challenges that we had and the opportunities that we had with this particular piece of legislation, which Chair Busada carried in 2025, you were dealing with a paradigm shift. And here were a few of the things that we had to break up. The first was the idea that we're doing a good job in schools if we make things really easy for grown-ups at the expense of children. So we have to start with that. And then another really foundational shift was this idea that schools are buildings that were built with taxpayer dollars for the purposes of education. Those buildings belong to the taxpayer. They belong to the students and to the families. They were built for a purpose. And so this concept of co-location, which was really important to success, was a very foundational shift for us in Florida. And I found it extraordinary that you've done this in New York, and it was a new concept for us. And so we had to not only be willing to take the arrows, as Chair Busada did so brilliantly, but we had to build the trust with districts. We had to have the conversations that really helped everyone in the state understand that we were looking for a win for everyone, but most especially for children who deserve the kind of transformational education that success offers. And so for those of you that are thinking about working on these issues in your state, I strongly recommend that you get you a Demi Busada or a Jennifer Kincart Johnson or warriors who are willing to stand and take the arrows. But at the same time that you do that, you're building trust in districts so that they will say, you know what, I think you actually do have our best in mind and you want to see everyone win. And we really did.
Absolutely. And let's just kind of break down that co-location concept. Yeah. And when she says co-location, what Success Academy says that their model is so great, they don't need money for a new building. They don't need new construction. They said, hey, you have this school in Miami-Dade County. The capacity is 4,000 students, and you only have 1,800 butts in seats at that school. What are we doing with that underutilized space? Now what we're doing is we're making use of it. And those hurdles, it was people standing in the way saying, oh, we own this school, we own this building. You don't own the school, you don't own the building. That was built by taxpayer dollars, and that belongs to the people of your community, the people of your state, and we have a responsibility to our students to give them the best opportunity possible. So they come in with an amazing model to use space that isn't being used. And that is quite impressive that you guys have been able to do that and have been so successful. So Eva, can you talk about what, if you had to give advice to legislators out there that are interested in doing something similar, what would your advice to them be?
Well, I would advise what Jennifer did. First, you need electeds like yourself who are willing to do the transformational work. And, that's step number one. But I think, more tactically or pragmatically, often districts don't realize how much underutilized space they have. We've had declining enrollment in district schools across the country, in part because there are vouchers and charters and parochial schools, and partly because the birth rate is going down. There are all sorts of reasons for that. But, there are districts across America that have 50,000 to 100,000 empty seats. And those seats should be used for educational excellence. And so the legislation that was done in Florida, that is allowing us to open up 5 schools in 27, 28. And you want to put all your resources into the teaching and learning. If you have to build buildings, that's going to take 3 or 4 years, a ton of capital. We want all of the resources going into the teaching and learning. And there are very few districts across America that don't have empty seats.
Absolutely. Now, raise your hand if you've been to New York. Anyone here who has ever been to New York? Okay, Eva, I'm gonna set you up for a task, but I know that you can do it. Next time you go to New York, go and tour one of their schools in the Bronx, in Harlem. I promise you it will change the way that you think about education. You will go back to your state wanting to do something that they have done, and everyone can do it. And like Representative Canady said, it's not easy, but it is worth it. Who in here, the school year in your state is 185 days or less? Around there. Hands up. The school year itself, how many school days? All right, Eva, how many school days do you guys have?
Well, we start on Monday.
So they start this coming Monday.
The kids start on Monday, and our kids get 3 additional years of education by the time they graduate.
Wait, stop right there. I want to make sure everyone in here heard that and understands what that means. Can we get everyone's attention? There we go. Thank you. Eva, how many additional years of education do your students get?
So by the time our kids graduate from 12th grade, where 100% go off to 4-year colleges, they will have received 3 additional years of education because of the longer day and longer year.
That's amazing. And that's why they are so successful. And that's why you have the name that you have, Success Academy. Representative Canady, excellence is at the heart of Schools of Hope for reforms and is a major priority for you and for all of Florida and our current leaders and our future leaders. When you think about the future of education, and obviously we've done so much in Florida already, we've accomplished so much, but what work do you think is left to be done?
Well, what we need is we need more Evas. And
that's right.
And really what we need is for Eva and Success Academy to be wildly successful in Florida. Because what that does is it sets the stage for all across the country our ability to understand what's really possible. And so as we think about the future, we want more innovation. We want more flexibility. We want more accountability and high standards. Because what that does is it really brings full circle the dream of Jeb Bush 25 years ago, which was that poor kids in Liberty City, the hardest, most difficult parts of Miami and all over the country, their zip code should never define their opportunity. Their zip code should never be the thing that prevents them from the kind of life that their parents could only and grandparents could only have dreamed of. That's the power of education. And so my dream for success and for education in Florida is that more and more we become those that are willing to go do the hard thing first. We'll figure it out, and then we will be so delighted to help anyone else who wants to take this journey with us. And that's one of the wonderful things about ALEC, the opportunity to share what we've learned.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you, Eva, for making the trip down today. Representative Canady, thank you for your time, and thank you for your commitment to education. And thank you to ALEC's commitment to education. I think the message here is that even if your state has done universal school choice, it doesn't stop there. That is not the end of it. There's so much more work to be done to make sure that every student, no matter their zip code, no matter the economic status of the family that they come from, that they have every single opportunity that they deserve. And that's what Success Academy has done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.